Hello, have you ever heard of Swedish death cleaning? And if you have, do you just find it just too morbid to think about? Anyway, let's talk about it today. This is My Intentional Retired Life. My name is Barb. If you're new here, I just welcome you. And if you are returning, welcome back. So, Swedish death cleaning is a concept that actually goes back centuries in Sweden, and it is basically more than decluttering. So, it is intentionally going through your items that mean a lot to you to try to determine what their value is to you now and what their value is going to be going forward. And it is, there's all sorts of videos on YouTube about Swedish death cleaning and what it means, and delves deeper into the whole subject of Swedish death cleaning. So I do encourage you to look those videos up if you're interested in it. So basically, you go through all of your items when you are still physically able to do so. So in the case of retirement, we're maybe 65. We've got 15 years before we're 80. Once we turn 80, we want to, have this all done ahead of time so that we don't have to think about it when we're infirmed or we don't have the energy or the strength to do it anymore. So it's decluttering, but it's decluttering with purpose. And so in my own life, what happened to me is once I retired, I realized that, that it was getting me down, that I had all of these things that I needed to go through in my house. I live in a 3-bedroom bungalow. I live alone. So, there's a lot of room here and a lot of cupboard space and a lot of closet space to be storing things that I don't perhaps need or, aren't serving any purpose in my life. So basically it was hanging over my head like a lead balloon. I kept thinking, what if something happened to me that I was sick, really sick, maybe had a, diagnosis of some sort that was life threatening, and that I would be laying here trying to deal with that, and then thinking in the back of my mind that I had all of these things that had to be done that I didn't get a chance to do. And it's basically that you don't want it to end up being something that your children have to do once you are gone, or once you are, infirmed or something. So basically, it's going through your things, like I said, with purpose, taking a look at all of the items as you declutter, and just saying, is this something that actually holds value? And such as, let's say, a coin collection, or perhaps a stamp collection, tools, things like that, that hold their value. One thing that does not hold its value, and I hate to say it, and I'm sorry, I hope it doesn't ruffle any feathers, but the one thing that does not hold value is china. And so if you have a whole set of china, just know that it is, a lot of thrift stores don't even want to take it. They just have a plethora of china, and they just can't get rid of it. Nobody wants it anymore. And I hate to say it, but probably your children don't want it either. The aesthetics of homes have changed so much over the years, and the china just isn't part of that aesthetic. That could change, but at the same time, it might not ever change. And so that's something that you have to think about as you go through these things, these items, to determine what is going to leave and what is going to stay. Now, in my situation, I've always been a pretty tidy person. I would say that you could come into my home, you wouldn't think that there's anything, that's cluttery. I don't have a bunch of papers, stacked up. I don't have, old food containers or garbage or anything laying around. I'm quite a neat and tidy person. But if you were to open my cupboards and my drawers, then you would have to have a crash helmet on, because things are not. I tend to squirrel things away in cupboards and drawers, and so basically, you would take your life in your hands if you opened my linen cupboard. So I knew that these things were hanging over my head, like I said, like a lead balloon, and I wanted to get it dealt with. So I started watching a lot of videos on decluttering, and found a lot of really, really good information on YouTube about decluttering, and then stumbled on the Swedish death cleaning, and I thought, yes, this is exactly what I have been thinking and has been weighing on me for quite a while. So it was, I guess it was basically around late spring when I started decluttering. And I have managed to go through my whole main floor, and I am working now on the basement. So what I did is, rather than to take the advice of one person, one guru out there that talks about decluttering, I decided to figure out what would work best for me. I know myself best, and just as you know yourself best. And so you know what you can handle, what you can't, what your body can take, especially as we age, what your body can't take. You know whether you're a very sentimental person or whether you're able to let go of things easily. I am not a huge person that, I don't keep every piece of paper that my kids have ever drawn a picture on or anything like that. I don't have tubs and tubs of their stuff from when they were kids or whatever. So I've just never been that person. I have photos, of course, and I still need to go through my photos, but for the most part, I can throw things away, or I can get rid of things and send them to the thrift store without too much issue. So in that way, I think I'm quite lucky. But there were some things that there was a couple of things I found while I was doing my decluttering that were actually hilarious. And so I'll tell you about those later. If you stay to the end, you get to find out what it was I found. Anyway, so I'll just go through a little bit about how I went about it. So the way that I did it was that I decided to do what my mother had always told me to do. And that is just to tackle, one kitchen drawer or one kitchen cupboard at a time. Set a goal for, let's say, I'm going to do this one cupboard or this one shelf or this one spot. And if I do more, that's a bonus. But my goal is to do that one thing. And that one thing has to be attainable. It can't be something that is you're just going to give up in the middle of it. You need to be able to basically know that you're going to be able to finish that. So make it an attainable goal for yourself that you know that you can do, and then just do it. And so that's kind of the premise where I started, which is basically what all of the decluttering people were saying on the videos that I was watching, just to do something that is basically you can do in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Give yourself a time limit or whatever. Give yourself a decision as to one drawer, one cupboard, whatever. So, but then in addition to that, what I did was I decided that I was going to set a goal that was a weekly goal. And that goal was that I had to fill up my garbage receptacle. I had to fill up my green garbage receptacle. And I also had to have 1 to 2 boxes for the thrift store every week. So this was once a week if I had to make sure that much was done. Okay. So basically that's what I did. And it worked really well for me. But each person has to decide how they're going to go about it. Do you want to have somebody with you? Do you need to, take pictures of items that you are really sentimental about? How much are you going to actually keep? And, there again, you have to really decide what is of value to you right now, what's going to be of value to you going forward. So, for example, just a couple of examples. I'm not going to keep you on here because I could talk about this for, an hour, but I won't do that to you today. So, but basically, let's say, for example, I went into my bathroom and I started to go through all of my cupboard that's in my bathroom. Is kind of like a bathroom / linen cupboard, kind of, it's quite tall, it has a number of shelves. And the number of shampoo and conditioners I found half used in there. As you can see, my hair is quite fine. And so, I get sucked into buying the conditioner and the shampoo that's going to give my hair volume. So anyway, I decided as I was going through all of that, I thought, you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm not allowed to buy any more shampoo or any more conditioner until all of that stock is used up. That's it. I'm not buying it. I refuse. So that was the one thing that really struck me as I was going through that cupboard. And same thing with makeup. And now I'm not a huge makeup hoarder, which is a good thing. But there again, I'm not going to buy any more makeup until I've used the items that I have. So those things, were no brainers for me. um, so in addition, I did my linen cupboard, which was unbelievable. The amount of pillowcases and aprons and tea towels and tablecloths. I don't even use tablecloths. So why am I hanging on to them? Now, some people might be sentimental about tablecloths that were embroidered by their mother, cross stitched or whatever. And that's completely up to you. But I have no sentimental attachment to tablecloths. So those are gone right away. Like I say, I was ruthless. I was literally ruthless. My clothing was not bad because I usually go through my clothes anyway in the spring and quite often even in the fall and go through and get rid of things that way. Also, paper in my office. I had taxes from 10, 15 years worth of taxes. And in Canada, I live in Canada, and here in Canada, we don't need to keep our taxes beyond 7 years. So I thought I've got to do some shredding. And so I basically sat in my office and I sat there took me a good couple of days to go through because there's a lot of personal information in those documents and they all needed to be shredded. And I needed to go through everything with a fine tooth comb and make sure I wasn't getting rid of anything that was necessary to keep. So basically, another thing too, owner's manuals or, manuals for items that you've gotten that you throw in your file cabinet. A lot of those things you don't even have anymore, so it's amazing. I found a lot of magazines. I had a lot of old phone books. I live in a small city and they still print a phone book every year. I must have had 5 iterations of that phone book in my stuff that needed to just be tossed. It went in the recycle bin. And so, those types of things it's just junk. It's just garbage. One tip I got from one of the YouTube videos that I watched was basically just saying, don't try to sell anything unless it's going to be you're going to get at least $50 or more for it. And don't be afraid to throw things away because they're just going to end up in the landfill anyway. So even the things that you take to the secondhand store, which I am all for, and I took tons of stuff to the secondhand store, but even they throw out a lot of those things. So, your home is not the landfill, right? So basically you can just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. If it's something that's broken, or it's really old and it's ratty, like just throw it away. Throw it away. It's not going to serve anybody anymore, right? So anyway, that's basically what I did, and it took me this summer to do it, but I have other things on my plate that I have to deal with, so it wasn't an everyday thing, and that's where my weekly goal of 1 or 2 boxes and all of my garbage and my composting or my organics bin, where that all came in very handy because if I didn't get it done, if I wasn't at it every day, then I wasn't beating myself up about it because I knew that by the end of the week I had to have those receptacles filled. And so it kind of lit a fire in me to get that done. So that was very helpful. That was something I just, like I say, came up with myself because I know myself. And so that worked out really, really well for me. So I think if you decide you want to do this, you just don't want your children burdened by your things. My daughter she took a couple of sleeping bags because they camp a lot. I did ask my kids if there was something I came across that I thought, they might want. I did ask them. And she did want some old Christmas decorations from her childhood. So, those things are meaningful to her. And so I was happy to pass those along. Neither of my kids wanted my blender, and it was an awesome blender. I just never use it. So, so that went to the secondhand store. So you kind of get the idea of what I'm saying, and just ask your kids ahead of time so that they don't have to wonder about it. The one thing I noticed was when I was I dropped off a box of items to the secondhand store, and I saw a couple of women there, and they looked just stressed right out. They looked like they were sisters, and they looked sad, they looked tired, they looked stressed. And I thought to myself, I bet you they're dropping off items from a loved one that has passed away. And I had to go around and go in the front. You drop your stuff in the back, and I had to go in the front because I needed to look for a picture frame. And so I asked I got my frame and I was going to pay for it. And I said to the woman, boy, it's busy back there today with the drop-offs. And she said, well, there was an estate sale, and they're bringing everything that was left over from the estate sale. And I thought, yeah, I bet you those two women were part of that estate sale drop-off. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't want to do that to my children. I just don't. So, excuse me, I don't mean to get emotional about it, but I just, it's something I think that we all need to think about as we age, that we don't want to burden our family, and that they're going to have enough to go through as it is, and can be a heartbreaking thing, right? So anyway, the things that I found, I have to tell you about before I let you go. I found not one, but two rubber chickens. Two rubber chickens. Go figure. I don't know. Anyway, I don't need any rubber chickens. And I know my kids don't need rubber chickens. So they're going to go to the secondhand store, and maybe somebody will enjoy them. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope you join me again next time around. I think I'm going to talk about a diagnosis that I got in retirement that changed my life. So thank you again for tuning in. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and all of that. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.